Bob, W6CJX, and this is the Papa System Great Outdoor Net. If you can tell, that's probably Morse code or something like that. I don't know what it means. Maybe some of us out there might be able to find out. Could decode it. There we go. That's the word I was looking for. Anyway, I'll be your net control operator for tonight's Papa System Great Outdoor Net. It meets here every Sunday evening at 8 p.m. Pacific. This is a directed net, so please go through net control at all times, and your cooperation is always greatly appreciated. Before we get started, let's pause for any emergency or priority traffic. Hearing nothing but crickets, we will continue with the net. Stations with emergency or priority traffic come into the net at any time with a double break, and net control will respond appropriately. The Papa System is an open membership-supported system in the Southern California area with the coverage from the Mexican border to Paso Robles and from Channel Islands to Las Vegas, Nevada. If you're a visitor tonight to the Papa System, I invite you to go to papasys.com, that's PAPASYS.com, and register as a guest. And with your guest registration, you'll have 45 days of free access to the Papa System. And at the end of your guest access period, we'd love for you to become a subscribed member and continue to use and be a part of the Papa System family. However, all amateurs are welcome to participate in the daily, weekly, and monthly Papa System nets regardless of their membership status. Again, this is the Papa System Great Outdoor Net. I hope everyone's doing well. Kind of a nice weekend, I suppose. We had clouds and a little bit of heat. A little bit of everything. But I think all in all, I think we're doing okay for easing our way into summer. And I think we might even have a Big Bear Bald Eagle cam update from Steve. There's some late breaking news coming on there. So let's get with the announcements, and then we'll get to Steve. So one thing we really have coming up is the picnic right now. And of course, the Inland Empire breakfast has been canceled for this month, since this is now June the 1st, so I can say it's for this month. But other than that, let's concentrate on the picnic. So hopefully to see everyone there, such a great event. We'll have fun, we'll have some good music, some good fellowship, friendship, and food. So without any ado, let's do a reset and we'll start that.
Here are the Papa System weekly announcements. The Papa Picnic is on for 2025. We welcome all Papa members, guests, and friends. Papa will be meeting in person on Sunday, June 8th at 10 a.m. for the annual Papa Picnic. We will be at a new location, the Falcon Flats Group area in Irvine Regional Park. The park is located at 1 Irvine Park Road, Orange, California 92869. Please purchase your picnic barbecue meal tickets on the Papa website as soon as possible so we can get an accurate head count. We will have a choice of hamburgers, veggie burgers, or hot dogs, along with macaroni and potato salad. To drink, we will have Coke, Diet Coke, Sprite, lemonade, and bottled water. Each meal is $22. Please use the PayPal button on the Papa website in the picnic information area to purchase your picnic meal ticket. We will also have another great raffle prize drawing at the Papa Picnic this year. Here is a small list of some of the raffle prizes you can expect at the picnic. Top 2 great prizes: an ICOM 5100 mobile unit with D-Star and analog capabilities. Grab-and-go radio package consisting of an Anytone 779 UV UHF VHF 20-watt radio with a Bioenno BLF 1220A 20-amp-hour battery and charger, T420 case with dual 12-volt power pole outlet, and a mag mount antenna with cable all included inside the case, a zoom spot with a mini 2.4 color LCD, Mighty Go box with a 28-watt foldable solar panel, Anytone 578 UV3 Plus with a Bluetooth remote control mic, Anytone 168 UV handheld, 10 Bioenno BLF 1215A batteries and chargers. Also, 10 Bioenno BLF 1209A batteries and chargers. The tickets are $20 each, and you will only be able to purchase them at the picnic. There is a park entrance fee of $5. See the map and more details on the PAPA website. We look forward to seeing you all at this year's PAPA 2025 picnic. All this information and a whole lot more can be found on the PAPA website at papasys.com.
Okay. Yeah, it's going to be a fun event there for sure. And like I said, if you haven't been to a pop-up picnic before, you're going to be in for a big surprise. It's a lot of fun, plenty of food. Don't worry about it. There's lots of stuff there to eat, a lot of goodies. Sometimes people bring a few things to share and that kind of stuff. But it's all good. And the main thing is we have a good time. And the one nice thing I believe that'll happen this year is that everyone that's there that buys a raffle ticket will be hopefully be a winner. But at least the ones that do win will get their prize right there, and we'll get to see them and their face light up and enjoy the fact that they just won maybe the grand prize. You never know. All right, so that's that. Let me do a quick standby here, and then we'll check in with Steve, our field reporter. Well, they're about ready to take flight, so let's see if Steve's out there. KI6 LOV. Let's see if you have anything for us tonight. And welcome.
All right, good evening, Bob, and everyone out here on the Great Outdoor Net tonight. This is Steve, KI6LOV, reporting in from a bunker somewhere deep under Santa Monica, California. Anyway, I'm here to mention that if you haven't logged on recently to the Big Bear Bald Eagle Cam, please do so, because the two young eagles are raring to go, and I think the one named Sunny is it's getting so nervous and jumping around the nest and practicing flapping, and I think she is getting ready to jump off the nest and fly. So coming up soon. It'd be really cool to see that live, wouldn't it? And also, I heard, or I read, one of the moderators mention the other day that they believe that both of these offspring are female, but that's not confirmed. In my humble amateur opinion, I think the smaller one named Gizmo, I think is a male. But anyway, that's just, we'll see how that works out. So anyway, check them out. You're going to love it. And next time I go out to the cabin, I'll give you a report from the mountains of the San Gabriels and Big Santa Anita Canyon. So with that, Bob, I'll give it back to you. You have a great net. This is KI6LOV.
Well, thank you, as always, Steve, for a great field report, whether you're in the field or not. But, you know, that would be the ultimate thing, is to turn on YouTube and go there live and just see them take off and fly. But I know they'll capture it. There's the other thing that was interesting. Who talked about that the other day? Where was that from? I don't know if Steve told me that or not, but they have an operator that's in, I think, the Netherlands or something, and they operate the camera while we're all sleeping because of the time difference. So there's always someone there 24 hours a day just keeping an eye on things and possibly, you know, recording something if something. I guess it's always been recorded, but you'll probably see it either way. If you don't catch it live, you'll see them take off. And boy, I sure hope it's a successful flight. Not one of the Wright brothers things, but I'm sure it will be. It's part of nature. Nothing we can do about it. It happens, and I'm sure it'll be just fine. All right, W6CJX with the PAPA system and Great Outdoor Net. And tonight I'm going to just have this weird whim of talking about like kind of early communications. I did see something on, you know, doing some smoke signals from the Native Americans. And then I think it even goes even further than that, probably a lot of pictographs and things back in the day when there was really nothing, you know, no communication. But we don't have to go that far back. But if you have some, when you check in, if you can remember back when you maybe got your first walkie-talkie, I mean, that was a highlight of a lot of the kids' lives when you and your buddy got a walkie-talkie, and you were like a couple houses down from each other, and you could talk all night long until Mom came in or Dad and said, "Turn that thing off," and turn the, you have a flashlight and you're underneath the covers talking to your friend. So something like that's always fun. And then maybe you could always throw in why you got into ham radio a little bit too. There's everyone has a story there somewhere. So anything to do with early communications, pre-cell phones and things like that. So, all right, with that, let's see. I got a little something I'm going to play, not too long, and give us a little history on some of the early communications. So stand by.
Early forms of communications. Native American tribes used smoke signals as a form of communication, often to warn of danger, invite gatherings, or relay agreed-upon messages. The specific meanings of the signals varied by tribe. Smoke signals were used for various purposes, including warning of enemies, inviting hunting parties, or sending messages between different groups. Tribes would build a fire, often on a hill or ridge, and control the smoke by using damp grass to create a smoky column. Different placement of the fire and the smoke's characteristics could convey different messages. Modern use and interpretation. The Boy Scouts also use smoke signals with a system where one puff means, "Hi, I'm here." Two puffs mean, "I have multiple people with me." And three puffs mean danger.
Oh boy. Yeah, if you take 3 puffs, you're probably going to be in danger, especially with the grade of, we won't go there. You guys know what I'm talking about. But I don't think the Boy Scouts are supposed to be doing that either. Anyway, either way. But, interesting stuff. It's kind of a neat way of looking back at the way people used to communicate. Probably it was pretty efficient at one time. We had telegraph, which was out there, where CW, Morse code, came along. And, we got into, telephones, party lines. I don't know if anybody remembers the old party lines where you get on, pick up the phone. I barely remember that. I don't know. I'm not that old to probably remember exclusively, but for some reason I remember picking up the phone and somebody was on it. So that's about as much as I remember from that. Okay, W6EJX for the Papa System Great Outdoor Net. Just a casual thought of old communications. Let's throw it out there. If you just want to say hello, let us know what you did this weekend. That's great too. Anything outdoor related is always good. So let's take a few check-ins, see who's out there, and we'll get this kicked off now. W6EJX at control. Please call me.
Kilo 6, Hotel November Golf.
Kilo Echo 6, Foxtrot, November, Jim, Cerritos.
November 6, Hotel
KC6 ESW on Echo Link.
KD6 LLB Logan on Saddle Peak.
Kilo Oscar 6, Juliet Charlie Alpha, Jeff Papa 3.
Kilo Oscar 6, India Zulu Oscar, Stephen in Saddle Peak.
Kilo November 6, Golf Juliet, Randy on Papa 9.
Alpha Bravo 6, Mike Bravo, Jeff.
November 6, Hotel Alpha Lima, Papa 9, San Marcos.
Whiskey 6, Zulu Whiskey, Papa 5, Signal Peak.
Kilo Juliet 6, Golf Echo Uniform, All-Star.
I think you got me, Bob. K6UZ All-Star. Well, I would say that was pretty orderly. That was very nice for 12 plus check-ins at one time. But I did miss a couple because and I think a couple of you came back, so maybe I got you anyway. So let me go through what I have, and I don't want to miss anybody right away. So let's go through, and I've got H&G, FVN, HAL, HAL, ESW, LLB, JCA, NZO, McCain, I got Randy, so we'll figure that out, GG something, and Jeff, 86MB, we've got Don, Zulu Whiskey, and we've got Bob, GEU, and Tom, K6COZ, so if you weren't just called, come back again.
A6TV.
Well, we can't forget Ellen. I put you at the top of the list there. Good to hear you, Ellen. Thank you so much for coming in. And, okay, well, let's just start off. These kind of nets just kind of go where they go. I don't expect everything. Is, You know, you just kind of have a topic and we'll go with it. If you can think about your earliest form of communications, I mean, we did have, my parents were collecting antiques, so they had some of those telephones where you pick it up and you ring, 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 ring type of thing. I know Steve said they had that in the cabins at one time where you could do different rings and get down to maybe the pack station or something. But, you know, maybe we go that far back, maybe we don't. We'll see. It doesn't have to be radio related, just any type of communication. So, and if you did smoke signals out of your backyard, hey, let's find out about it. Adrian, KK6H&G.
Good evening, Bob, and everybody on the net. This is Adrian, KK6H&G. So, early communication. Smoke, no, because I couldn't put the apartment on fire when I was a child. I guess my parents would kill me. But hey, the first form of communication was shouting. Wow, you know what? It was working pretty well. Even to the next apartment building like 100 feet away. But seriously, when I was a child, I had telephone parts and some scrapped telephones. And put those together with wire and with a battery. And you know what? They were ringing and talking. So I played with my brother like that at some point. Then, let's say, radio. That came a little later. But since you mentioned party line, well, party line for me came much, much later. Because I happened to run into it in the Santa Anita Canyon when it was still running until 2020. It was still running when it was a big fire, whatever, something like that. And it was amazing because I think there were like around, give or take, 20 active stations there, including about 9 public ones in, like you would call a public booth phone or something, that were on the trail. Sometimes people were using them. And I was amazed by those, and I volunteered for a number of years maintaining the phones in those boxes. Well, I guess now they are pretty much all gone. But it was a nice piece of history. So, I guess probably satellite communication. No, I didn't go that far yet. Even I did some tests with my iPhone. And it seems to send messages pretty well. So, you know what? I think I gave you a history of communication. As much as I was living it. KK6HNG, back to net control.
Well, that was perfect. Yeah, a little bit of everything there. I like the part about taking old phones and parts and making it up. And you talk to your brother, you know, ring each other up and that. I'm glad you mentioned about the Santa Anita Canyon, too. I remember Steve talking about that, and that's pretty cool that they had those. I guess it's just a single wire. I'm not 100% sure on that. Maybe someone can let us know. But it's pretty amazing that...
One wire and yours.
One wire, yeah. Okay. Yeah, and then I guess the crank was like a generator, right? So as you turn that, it would generate some kind of voltage. Pretty neat stuff, though, if you think about it. It's been a long time since anybody's probably ever thought of that. In fact, it wasn't that long ago we had one of those hanging in our garage here, but I think we ended up selling it. I probably should have kept it. All right, Adrian, thank you so much. And let's say hello to Jim, KE6FVN.
Good evening to everyone on that KE6FVN. Demonstrates, well, what though I can remember early on is I remember being the oldest of 2 kids in my household, being around my dad a little bit. Some of that involved being around his amateur radio transceivers. That's how I got started with the amateur radio. So come dinner, I hear my dad on his way home. I'd sometimes sneak up to the radio and long enough to say hi to him. I do remember the telephone that Mom and Dad used, and hearing my dad talk about the Prey line, late 40s, well into the 50s, he had 2 letters, a digit, and the prefix, and 4 digits after that, and that was your number, and That's how I got to know about the party line, KE6FVN.
Well, that's a good start for getting into amateur radio when you have a parent or, grandfather or somebody, uncle that got into it and kind of following their footsteps a little bit. And I guess when you go back to watch some of these really old shows, maybe like I Love Lucy, something like that, where they, the old black and white shows, maybe like Petticoat Junction, I don't know. They have that where they simulate using the old crank phones and, somebody be on there and say, hey, can you get off? I'm trying to make a call. But then again, everyone could be listening, kind of like amateur radio. Almost just like it, really, if you think about it. All right, Jim, thank you so much for being there always, and glad you sound better than you did whenever the last time we talked. You sound like you got through your cold or whatever you had there. So good to always good to hear you. N6 HAL, Hal, give us some history on early communications if you got it, and welcome to the Great Outdoors.
N6 HAL. Thanks, Bob. Well, I don't go too far back, but I do go back to the early 50s with the party line. We had one. It was also our house phone and my dad's business phone. And I still remember the lady's name that was on our party line that bugged my dad all the time because she interrupted his business calls. Well, her name was Mrs. Freetag, and she lived on the hill up above our house, which is right across from the street from where I live right now. And our old party line phone number, I remember that too, it was 103W. Going back on different older types, I remember the first cell phone I had, it was a Motorola in a bag, black bag, best cell phone I ever had. And the oldest form of communication that I used was with my brother, and that was we each had a fort in the olive trees by our house, and we had 10 cups and string between the two trees so we could talk to each other. And don't forget pigeon communications in the past also. That's all I got. Thanks, Bob. N6 HAL, back to the net.
All right, Hal, you get the bell, because you said 2 cups and a string. I was waiting for that one. That's I don't know how, or tin cans, 2 tin cans in a string. Boy, it's been a rough week. But that's pretty cool. I didn't know, does that really even work when you've got a string between 2 cans? I suppose, something for kids to do. Can't get, well, you're not that far away from each other, so I guess you could still hear each other, even though it's, but I'm sure the vibration probably went through it. I'll have to pick that one up and check that out. We'll save, have Caroline save a couple cans of green beans and we'll give it a shot. No, that's good. Yeah, the party line thing was, like with, the show I was thinking of was like Andy Griffith. We watched some of the old ones of that, and, they get on there and they knew the operator, and they'd say, hey, Marge or whoever, can you dial up Dr. So-and-so or something like that. It's just, for the younger generation to go back and watch something like that, they'd be like, what are you guys talking about? Man, they actually had a phone on the wall, and it had a cord and all this stuff, But I agree with you on the bag phone. That was my first one. I got it at Montgomery Ward out in Woodland Hills. And I don't remember what I paid for it. It must have been a fortune, but it was a Motorola bag phone that you plugged into your cigarette lighter. And then I think it was LA Cellular that was the carrier. So I think we've come a long ways. All right, Hal, thank you so much. Welcome to come back in at any time. And let's say hello to Mike, KC6ESW.
TCX, KC6ESW on Echolink, because my HT died. The battery is gone, which I don't think I've ever lost a battery on my Anytone, but it needs to be charged up. But anyway, good evening. I am at Jacuzzi Mobile right now, just getting a little evening relaxation before dinner, and then we'll see what happens the rest of the night. Upset the Dodgers lost today, but oh well. Such is life. It's funny, the Dodgers, I know this is not the baseball net, but they played 3 games with the Yankees, and tomorrow they're playing 4 games with tomorrow through Thursday they're playing the Mets. So more New York, more often for the Dodgers. Yeah, I think as a kid, Radio Shack was the go-to for walkie-talkies. The Space Patrol, so they were called walkie-talkies, and they always transmitted on channel 14. However, they received, in that day, all 23 channels. I think they were like, God, I want to say 100 milliwatts or whatever they were, but yeah, fun times for those for sure. And as far as phones, well, again, I grew up in the 60s and 70s in the Bay Area. We had rotary phones for quite some time. Then I had a push-button phone. I had a friend who worked for the phone company back in the day, and he used to bring me all kinds of stuff to play with and phones and multi-line phones, and it was a blast. Take them apart, put them together, connect them, make intercoms, and all that stuff. So, but fun times. Back in those days, not sure how it was where you're at, but when you ordered your phone, they came to your house and actually assembled it on the trucks and then installed it. That was before modular, so they were all hardwired in, basically. It was a little different, but yeah, great topic for sure. Destroying the cans, 2 cans, that works for sure. But ham radio was definitely a game changer for me at about 16 years old, and yeah, never looked back. So, fun times. But hey, back to you, and when we next talk, I'll tell you about my trip to Alaska I got planned. W6TJX, KDC6ESW, back to you.
Well, a trip to Alaska would fit just nicely in the outdoor net, so you'll definitely have to let us know about that. And that's, yeah, I'm glad you got to, I think there's a certain age where we've experienced different things, you know, and then we went to the cordless phones. I remember the Cobra. I think I had a Cobra with the telescopic antenna for a while, and then those were kind of, and that's like sometimes on a clear node, you'll hear people with the hum, the infamous hum on the clear node. I'm just not I shouldn't pick on clear node, just on a node in general, an all-star node, let's say. And it sounds like you're walking around the house with one of those old wireless or cordless phones. Well, they were radios, basically, bottom line. And you could even listen to some of them. I remember doing that on the scanner. Oh, yeah. I don't remember what the frequency was, 800 megahertz, or back before they made that illegal, but you could listen to your neighbors talk about you. W6CJX for the Papa System, Great Outdoor Net. Thank you, Mike. Let's say hello to Logan, LLD. What you doing, Logan? How are you doing today?
Thanks, Bob. I'm doing fairly well. Can't complain. And it's good to hear everyone. KD6LLB on Saddle Peak, Papa 4. And, yeah, nothing too remarkable, but there's some things that I've found interesting. One, I mean, taking things kind of in random order, there was a period when I was a kid when I figured out a little bit about electromagnets, and I tried building, I did build some motors. They were pretty crappy, and the funny thing was I used to scavenge perfectly good motors to get wire and parts and then build really bad motors. And I also tried building speakers, and those were pretty bad also, but I did try making kind of a primitive phone system, and I did kind of break into the, Steve mentioned the old Ma Bell system. Phones were just hardwired, and I found out that the regular citizens were not allowed to touch those at that time, and we actually got into, I don't know if we got into actual trouble, but we gotten threatened with trouble because I had done a bunch of things running wire places and trying out not proper phone equipment, in addition to connecting up some phones that I guess we weren't supposed to have. So I'm glad Ma Bell's gone. It's definitely better now. So, a quick comment about tin cans and a string. It's actually, I think, tin cans and wire work much better. So guitar strings, or if you can get, some kind of light wire, actually worked pretty well when we were playing around. It actually surprised me that it does do something. It's not good communications, but it's fun when you're a kid. And but the real big communications breakthrough for me was when I don't know how old I was, but I had the best Christmas that I probably ever had. I got a pair of walkie-talkies. I don't remember what they were, and I got the original Bowie knife. It says it right on the stamped steel. It's really a cheap knife, but it says original Bowie knife, and that was pretty cool. So I was talking to one of my cousins on my walkie-talkies. We were very excited, and he asked to see the knife that I had gotten. So I handed it to basically a toddler, one of my other cousins, and I'm pretty famous in the family for having done this. And she went running through the room with a Bowie knife. It says Bowie knife right on it. And anyway, I didn't see my walkie-talkies or my Bowie knife for a couple of years after that, but the walkie-talkies still worked. Anyway, seemed not so great at the time, but it's funny to me now. All right, great to hear everyone. Hope everybody has a great week coming up. KD6LLB.
Yeah, I was going to say, too, maybe wire would be better than the string. I think that's just, the term. Still think to try that, though. If anybody wants to come over and we'll get a couple cans. But you have to have 10 cans? That's a lot of cans. How do you string all those together? Hey, it was great seeing you at the Cherry Blossom Festival yesterday, Logan. Always a pleasure to see you. Let's say hello. Let's see. All I have is a Juliet Charlie Alpha, so JCA on Papa 3. Give us the rest of your call, your name. I probably know it, but I just put it. I'm on my third edition of the Great Outdoor Net logbook, and I think there's 100 sheets it says, but I just started it, so I can't go back and look at call signs. We cheat sometimes and go back and find people's names and stuff. Anyway, just thought I'd mention that. So JCA, if you're there, come on back and say hello.
Thanks, Bob. This is Kilo Oscar 6, Juliet Charlie Alpha. Name is Jeff on Papa 3. And I have a few items on the communication, kind of stream of consciousness stuff. The first one, going way back to when you're a little lad in grade school, sitting in a classroom at wooden desks, little small wooden desks. There was a technical predecessor to email. It was a folded up piece of paper with someone's name written on it, like it might say Bob, and it was folded up, and it might start in the back of the classroom, and somebody would tap on the person in front of them, and you were supposed to hand it around the classroom until it got to the designated addressee on the paper. So I guess the idea was you weren't supposed to unfold it and look at the message that was written on the paper from the back of the room. Another kind of related to the party phone was there were phone exchange names that you mentioned, like Petticoat Junction, but the old 60s and 50s, there was phone exchanges where you would have two-letter or two-letter plus three-number format, or two letters and four-number format for the phones, and you would see advertisements that would just have that symbol, like Murray Hill, like MU or Baldwin, and then the rest of the number. And then the final thing was they're still around, but payphones kind of needing to have change put in the phone and not having exact change for the phone. Back to net control. This is KO6 JCA.
Well, good to hear you, Jeff. And yeah, the old payphones. I remember when I started with I only worked for two companies in my career, other than just little jobs. So 20 years at each company. And I believe it was the second company that I started with back in, 80? Well, I won't even go there. 2004 maybe. There might have still been a few payphones. We had some customers, since we were in that would handle coins and dollar bills, whatever, currency. And I had a few customers that still had payphones out there, and so I would go to their house. Actually, they didn't even have it wasn't a big business. It was kind of dwindled down to, at your house you had one of our machines that would count dimes, let's say, or the payphone. And I just thought that was kind of funny that somebody was still spending their time working with these payphones. But boy, has that gone to the wayside for sure. So I'm glad you kind of mentioned that. That was really neat. And yep, it's we've progressed. I remember early days too as being a technician in the field of having a pager, and you had to actually we didn't have cell phones. We had to actually stop and find a payphone, get off the freeway, and try to make a call into dispatch. But then we finally got some really good pagers that, text pagers that actually would tell you the phone number and the location and address where you needed to go to work. So that was kind of cool. But it's, oh boy, we've come a long way. We've come a long way, baby. Thank you, Jeff. All right, let's say hello to November Zulu Oscar. Give us your full call and anything you have for us on the net tonight. W6CJX Net Control. Well, we'll give it one more shot. Let's see. I think it's November Zulu Oscar. That's what I wrote. Nothing else. Didn't get a name, or I didn't check to see where the repeater was on. But let's try it one more time, and you can always come back in. November Zulu Oscar.
Might have been an India Zulu Oscar.
I'll take that. That's close enough. Go ahead and give us your call.
Kilo Oscar 6, India Zulu Oscar on Papa 4 in Saddle Peak. My name is Steven. Definitely did the cup and the string, and you could do it with a wax cup, because the wax gets that vibration, and a fishing line. And I used to live in a housing complex when I was a kid, so any of the kids on the top floors, we'd string it across and cup and string it and try and get that vibration going on some of those old wax Dixie cups. So that was definitely the first. Then in my younger teens was definitely experimenting with K40s and Cobra radios. Back to the K40 and the Cobras. When I was a young wannabe DJ, I had a little sampler mixer and a turntable, and I didn't have two turntables, so I would sample out and loop it and mix back in, and I thought that I could go over the CBs, which isn't, it's pretty frowned upon. And there was this there was a savant at our school named Iceman. That was his nickname. And Iceman was, like I said, he was a savant. He was into radio frequencies. And he used to tell me to stop transmissions on any channel that I would broadcast on the CB. And I would taunt him with my sampler. I'd fill the banks up and be like, Iceman. And I didn't know how good he was. And he eventually triangulated my position. He came driving down the way into the parking lot in his white S10 with his K40 on top of the truck, and he was like, hey, Salamander, why don't you come outside? I'm in your parking lot. So that was, that was a moment in my teenage years where I knew that I was extremely interested in radio and the process of triangulation. I definitely did the pager thing. We would go meet at payphones at the local Wendy's. And jumping forward a few years, when my days at Apple, I used to work behind the Genius Bar. There were some precarious times when people would come to the Genius Bar with their BlackBerry and say, how can I get my calendar on the Mac onto my BlackBerry? We can't figure it out. And there was, convoluted software to try and get everything onto the BlackBerry. And there were some aha moments at Apple retail during those times where we knew something was coming, and it was big. Back to Nets.
Yeah, that's great, Stephen. I just was laughing because we had stuff like that going on too back in the day with CDs in the 70s, and we'd have the guy that would always come through with some kind of stuff going on, and you don't do too much. But we used to drive around. Of course, there wasn't we didn't have repeaters, so it was literally a mostly just a base station, I guess, or a mobile. But then you could kind of like see their S meter strength and see if you get close. And there was only so many people back in those days that had CVs, so that was kind of that's great. I know it's fun. I mean, it got us all into this. I'm sure we've all went to the school of CV Hard Knocks and was able to work our way up to finally getting into the big league of amateur radio, for sure. Thank you for sharing. That's awesome. I love that. That was a great story. Let's see about Randy. I think he's KN6. Golf. Is it whiskey? I don't know, but let's go with that.
Juliet.
You got there, Randy.
Oh, yes, it's Golf Juliet. Sorry about that. So I guess communication, going back the old way of doing it, I was in the Boy Scouts back in the 80s, late 70s, early 80s. We used to do semaphore, actually, as part of the Communications Merit Badge. And we had a couple patrols in our troop who got quite good at it. And you can do that without actually having flags. You can simply use hand positions around the clock to signal. It's relatively slow because it's filling out each letter at a time, but you can get the job done pretty quickly. But my start in radio was actually, I was very intimidated back in the 80s by having to do the Morse code for the ham operation. My father was a ham, and I never really got into it, but in college I wound up as a DJ for a radio station on campus. We were one of the bigger stations in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. 89.1 WFNM was our call sign, and I had a show from 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. Tuesdays and Thursdays. We played heavy metal. Of course, my name being Randy, I had a co-DJ on that by the name of Travis. And so, of course, our show, you had to name it the Randy Travis Show. And that kind of kicked off my interest in radio. I was also the, quote, technical director of the station, and all our boards were all reel-to-reel tape and old potentiometer boards, very analog stuff. So it was interesting times. Over.
Oh, an old radio guy. Yep, back in the mid to late 70s, I worked at KVMR, 89.5. You're listening to 89.5 KVMR, the voice of the community. But that got me into, well, commercial type radio. I didn't pursue it, as you can tell. I'm just one of these guys out here that was a wannabe too. But I got a chuckle when you said that you had the shift from 1 a.m. to whatever it was, 3 or 4 a.m. I was the guy that had to do all the fill-ins, so we had as a multi-format radio station up in Nevada City, and literally it was a shack. I mean, talk about a radio shack. It was a shack. It had 2 turntables, a mixing board, a couple microphones, a whole wall full of records that we had to go through. We just had someone picking out what we wanted or what we should have played, and you got to record a log just like you do, with amateur radio too, except you had to record what songs you played. And I guess my favorite radio show was the classical, which was, 6 a.m. till 9 maybe, or 10. And, you can get on one of those, the problem was trying to describe, to say the name of the composer, and it's a B flat minor overture with blah blah blah, and you're just like fumbling through that. And then once you got the record playing, it just went on for about 25 minutes, so you could go do anything you wanted to do pretty much, as long as you kept your ear out for when the radio whenever it was going to quit. And then I did the afternoon country western hour. I always wanted to do jazz, and I've always wanted to do the rock and roll, which was I think at 10 p.m. every night. But there was different. Those guys were the more experienced. But I went in and asked, I'll sweep floors. I don't care. I didn't realize it was such a small studio. Today, if you go up there now into Nevada City, you'll see KVMR is quite large, and it's a beautiful, in fact, they took over the place where I had it's way too much information, my junior prom. The place up there. But anyway, fun times. I had a good time. Well, thank you so much for jogging my memory, Randy. And I got you down for GGJ. Golf Juliet. Let's go to Jeff real quick, and before the 9 o'clock hour, AV6MB, our one and only, our one and the best antenna host on Friday nights at 7 p.m. Welcome, Jeff.
Okay, Bob, thank you very much. Thank you for doing the net. You haven't got too much. Everybody else has covered it pretty well, but I remember I grew up in Seattle, and then I had an uncle that had a farm in eastern Washington, and I'm not sure if he had the multi-line set up, which I might just went blank on it, of course, and that. But I do remember we went up to kind of a cousin of my mother's up in Saskatchewan, and he had a farm. He was way the heck out there. And then he had the phone that would just go, do those different rings. And it was kind of cool, actually. And party line, that's what it is. And that, it would, like I said, do the various rings. And I never heard that before. And so I'm not sure if my uncle in eastern Washington on the farm had it, but because I don't remember it. But he very well could have. And I think he did when he first moved in. And then they talk about communication in different ways. There's some places where way back when, they would communicate across the islands and that by doing whistles, and do different whistles to kind of send messages. And also yodeling. Yodeling was another way they could send messages too. So those two are, other ways they could, send messages out there using sound. And then, to make the string in the tin can, you put the string in the tin can and have a hard button in there, and you put the string into the button, and that's what would do the vibrating and cause the can to, of course, play the signal that you sent to it. But anyway, that's a couple ones I've heard of, and maybe most people don't know that. And so with that, I'll turn it back to you. Thank you for doing the net, AV6MB.
All right, I'm giving out a second bell. Which I guess they used for communication too at one time. Yodeling, there you go. Wow, the Swiss. They actually probably, I don't know if they came up with that or not, but I know that's one way that, at least from what I've seen on movies and things, where, they go out and do a night. Of course, it turned into more music, I guess, yodeling, but then they used to use that to communicate when, the dad or the husband was out in the field with the cows, and time for dinner, they'd ring a bell, or they would do the yodeling thing, and then maybe yodel from one town to another. That's good. I'm glad you brought that up. That is very good. Different forms of communication. That's what I was looking for, definitely. Things that I didn't think of, so that's why I like to hear those. So good job, Jeff. You did a great job on that one. And then I think someone mentioned flags. Yeah, flags is another good form of early communication, whether you're on a ship or something like that. All right, well, thank you, Jeff. And let's say hello to Don, Zulu Whiskey. Welcome. We haven't heard you in a while. How you been? And anything you have for the net, W6CJ, is your net control. Well, I think that's who I heard. I don't know if it's November 6th, Whiskey 6, Zulu Whiskey. I think that's what it is. But I know the Zulu Whiskey part. Anyway, let's see if he's out there. Go ahead, Don, if you're there. If you're not Don, and you're Zulu Whiskey, then you can still come in. It could be a different a prefix or something. So anyone with the Zulu Whiskey, come in. Okay, we can always come back and take another round anyway. Let's say hello to Bob. Sound like he was on a Clearcoat or something, so that's a different one. He's usually driving home about this time. KJ6GEU. Good evening, Bob, and welcome to the Great Outdoor Net.
Yes, good evening, Bob. This is Bob, KJ6GEU. Yes, I'm home tonight, not driving. Using the clear note only because I'm on an HT in the house and it would be a little bit better than trying to hit the repeater. So, yeah, okay, so early phones. Never did the tin can and the string and wire thing, but I am old enough to remember those rotary phones. I remember when we first came here from Canada when I was about 5 or 6. We moved to Huntington Beach, and we had a rotary phone. I still remember the phone number, too. And a few years later, they had the push-button ones. Never had a party line, though. So I guess my only... You guys are talking about broadcast radio, some of you guys being DJs and whatever. The closest I came to that was when I was in college. I had a friend who was a DJ on the on-campus AM station at Loyola Marymount University. Every Friday night I used to go up there and help him select music to play. And a couple of times I got him in trouble with my song selections, some of the more risque stuff that the administration didn't like. So that's as close as I got to broadcast radio. Until the late 70s, 79, when I was in graduate school, a few people at the school were CBers, and I did get into that and had a heck of a lot of fun with it. Had a 150-watt amp under my seat in the car. Used to drive my neighbors nuts because I'd bleed over onto their TVs all the time. Did that for about 3 or 4 years. Had a great time. We had a good group down in Orange County that would, meet for breakfast every week. Great time. Always wanted to get into amateur radio, but never had the time to learn code. Finally, when the code requirement went away, I went and finally got my license in 2010, and took me a few years, but I got my extra, and here we are. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Back to Net Control, KJ6GEU. You guys have a great evening.
Well, great to hear you, Bob, and you sound great. Definitely, the clear note is working good for you. So, I cheat with that too around the house. It's just so nice to, 30 is pretty good for us. Live in the backyard, on an HT, I can actually get into it. And then, of course, the base stations, I can get into Papa 1, Papa 30, 26, and maybe 6. Yeah, we're just at that area where I can hear 6, and I think I can key up Papa 6. But that's my extent. No Papa 4, no 8 or anything like that. So, well, good. Yeah, it sounds great. And I'm glad for you being here every week, whether you want to be or not. But I know you want to be, so it's a lot of fun. Okay, Bob, take care. I'm glad you're not driving home tonight. That's good. That's a different story. For sure. Well, let's say Tom, K6COZ. Welcome.
Hey, Bob. Hey, thanks for having me, K6COZ. No, I got tomorrow off. I'm celebrating a little bit here. Tried to check in last week. I guess the pile-ups are too many on the All-Star, and I checked in first tonight and got in last. It took me a couple times, but I made it in. Had some Channel 14 CB radios, 1967 General Electric radios. Got into CB radio later on in the 70s with the Midlands, and upgraded. We all had CB radios, my mom, my dad, and Yesus and Simbas and VFOs and PALs and linears and beams on the roof, and local CB nets and brakes, and did all that. So here I am, K6UZ. Thanks, Bob. Back to Net Control.
And here all this time I was feeling guilty because I looked at you and I said, well, God, Tom's way down at the bottom here. I should have brought you up because I want you to be on the net for sure. And let me see if I can dial into this.
We're sorry. You have reached a number that has been disconnected or is no longer in service.
Oh.
If you feel you have reached this recording in error, please check the number and try your call again.
Okay. I will. I had to play that. I had no other reason to play it any other time, but since we're talking phones and things tonight. Okay, thank you, Tom. I'm glad you got tomorrow off. Yeah, this is Sunday. Okay, so you got tomorrow off. I'll have to harass you on the radio in between doing my other duties out here. Last but not least is Ellen, K6DV. Welcome, Ellen. And what you got for us, old communication stuff? What do you remember from maybe as a kid?
Terrible squelch tail. Oh, it's so long. Hey, all this reference to old, I resent that. No, wait, I resemble that. K6TV to the group, and I just got some stuff here. You guys have been talking about all the audio methods of communication, and I have to share something. I've been transcribing my grandmother's diaries on my father's side, and she grew up on a farm in northern Missouri. And she had a diary, which I also have, from her great aunt Kate from the 1870s. So we're looking at the timeline from 1870s through 1903 right now that I'm working on. And it's so fascinating because I didn't realize what life was like on a farm back then until she started documenting her day-to-day activities. And one of the things that's related to tonight's topic is that she would have to saddle up old Dan and ride side saddle into town to get the mail. And she would not ride cowboy style unless she was out having fun with her girlfriends. So it's a scene of the times. And then what happened was the Postal Service decided they would try RFD, which is Rural Free Delivery, which was started in the late 1800s, but because the cities had delivery to homes since the 1870s, it's been around a long time. And they just decided, the Postal Service, the biggest thing they ever did was to do RFD out to all these remote farms. And it was neat that she was talking about how she would go from riding the horse to town to get the mail to getting a letter in her hands at the college where she ended up going to school. So I just wanted to talk a little about RFD as something that changed the lives of so many people, because and there was a great big political brouhaha about it as well, but I don't want to go into that here. The whole idea that suddenly you could have a letter in your hand, and she would write in her diaries about, today I got a letter from so-and-so. I haven't heard from him in so long, like 2-3 months. And here we have instantaneous communication via audio format instantaneously around the world. Now, when I lived in Germany, I had to use the Mars stations in order to talk to my dad, who was a ham operator in Hawaii. So it was really neat to see if we could actually talk to him at the scheduled time. So that's about all I can offer. I was going to say a whole bunch of stuff about call not completed, but hey, that's for another time. Oh, if you're coming to the picnic next summer, please come up and say hello. I'm going to wear my call sign prominently. I'd like to meet some of you because I love your voices. K6DV, back to you and the net.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, we'll send up some smoke signals with our call signs, and maybe people can see from the barbecue where we're at. No, you've got some great information that's really kind of neat, where you can go back and all the history with your ancestors, and I love that. So it falls into a lot of the categories, of course, with the Great Outdoor Net here. So anytime you can share that stuff, but that's just amazing stuff. That way of getting communications, and I guess too, you think about the way it is today. Let's say don't even want to really say anything bad, like an explosion or whatever 9/11 type of thing, but it's we don't want to think of that happening, but it does, and next thing you know about it about 10 minutes after, or less than that, because it goes on the internet, whereas before you probably wouldn't hear anything about it for maybe a few weeks or maybe a week if something was to happen, or when they were looking for the old bandits and what's his name, Billy the Kid, you'd see in the newspapers, or they're trying to track him down and stuff. So I guess it's pretty neat. All right, Ellen, thank you so much. Good to hear you. It's going to be great to see everyone next a week from today. I don't know. I think we're going to do the net on next Sunday, but it's just going to be kind of a picnic wrap-up net. I'm not going to do anything major discussion, and just let it go I'll let it go wherever it goes, right? Be kind of fun. And just if anybody was there, or if you missed it, we'll tell you all about what you missed. W6EJEC for the Papa System Great Outdoor Net. All right, I'm out of stations. Let's take a few more and see who else is out there tonight. Please contact Net Control.
KN6UYZ, John in Rancho Cucamonga.
Foxtrot Golf Whiskey.
Kilo November 6, Mike Romeo Golf, Papa 10.
November 6, Alpha Quebec, Quebec.
KC6,
Kilo 6, Delta Mike Oscar, Derek in Palos Verdes on Papa 5.
The other station that collided with Delta Mike Oscar, go ahead.
KC6WTN.
Thanks, Jeff. I didn't hear your voice. I don't know. I would have picked it out. Okay, anyone else? Please come now.
I6J, Camarillo.
Go one more time with your call sign. In Camarillo also. It was an XJ. Go ahead with the whole. I'll give you a little time there to get it all through, or key up and then speak. Maybe just a little bit of lag time.
Roger. Alpha, India, 6 Japan, Camarillo.
All right, got it. Alpha, India, 6 Japan. No X, just the 6. I guess I got the tail end of the X on the 6 and the Japan. All right, good. Hello, fellow Camarillian, or Rulian, or, well, anyway, welcome. Okay, one more last time. We'll make this kind of our last call because I wanted to kind of wrap it up a little early tonight. So one more last call. If you want to get in on the net, please come now.
November 6,
Kilowatt Delta 9er, Mike Hotel Bravo, Corey in Dayton.
Okay, I had a station from Dayton, and then there was another station in there with you. The other station, go ahead.
November 6, Alpha Quebec, Quebec.
Well, I've got you, Dale. I got your number. You're only about 2 or 3 down on the list there. No, I got you there. Well, we'll start out. We can always call for a last call, too. Let's say hello to John. He's probably got some good information. KN6UYZ.
Thank you, Bob. KN6UYZ. You know, all this talk about radio, communication, 60 years ago made me think of a couple of things. Number one, I'm sort of wondering what's going to happen in another 60 years. We're talking wearables. We're talking about insertables for communication, or that's all coming in 10 years maybe, and what happens in 60 years, have no idea whatsoever. I don't know. Another little thought I had was, reminded me of being in the National Guard. We were going up to Fort Irwin one day for a summer camp kind of a thing, and we were in Jeeps and deuce-and-a-half trucks and whatever, and some of the vehicles were radio equipped with really very tall antennas. A few of us decided in Jeeps that we needed to pull off and get a little bit more fuel. So we pulled in, and the radio Jeep pulled in first, I think, into this gas station, like a Mobil or something. And his antenna was so high, it took out about 6 really long fluorescent bulbs. Glass shattering down, shards shattering down all over the place. And the guys in that vehicle, I just presumably looked at each other and said, well, we can go in and explain and give them names and numbers and rank and what have you. Or we could hit the gas and get out of here. So that's what they did, and that's what we did, and everybody took off. And on the way out, they probably took another 6 fluorescent tubes with them as well. But that's just a little Army story for 60 years ago. Back to net, KN6UYZ.
Yeah, I told you John would be good for a good story. That you got to be cracking up with that. I can just picture it. You know, all those bulbs just breaking and shattering, and lights going out, and then like, do we hang around or just keep going? Oh, we didn't know. Did we hit something? I don't know. I don't remember that. That's awesome. Really funny. And I needed a good laugh there. All right, John. Always a pleasure. Let's say hello to Steve, WA6, FGW. I can't talk today, but, well, it's all right.
Okay, very good there, Bob in the net. This is WA6, Foxtrot Golf Whiskey. And, as I listen to everybody, things are just popping in like crazy. And the more recent ones that I have noted, the warnings, sign, what do you call it, air raid warnings and whatnot, I used to hear back in the 50s and 60s. And, of course, now they do it on your telephone to let you know that there's earthquakes coming around the corner and that sort of thing. So that's all the situation. And I don't know about some people, maybe they also kind of grew up in the neighborhood of large corporations, and they would always have a horn or whistle or something that would indicate it's it's time to go home or it's lunchtime, whatever. You could tell by the time of the blast and that sort of thing. And what else? Oh, last but not least, as hams, so we were all very much back in the 70s, early 80s, enamored with Auto Patch being one of the kind of cutesy little, draw type of things for, try to get people into ham radio. And, back in 1984, I remember vividly, we had the 84 Olympics here in Los Angeles, and I was part of a radio system that had a very active Auto Patch, and while we were waiting for and watching the entrance of all the different teams, I decided to pick up my HT, which I had with me, and call my parents back in Chicago, and we chit-chatted while it was, all the teams were marching in. I thought that was kind of neat and that sort of thing. And of course, a year or two later, I did similar from the top of Mount Whitney. Anyway, that's all I got, but great subject. I didn't think so at first, but it has a lot to be said. Anyway, back to you, WA6FGW.
Well, that's a major contribution with the dialing up and the Auto Patch. I mean, that's what Papa's all about, right? So that's it's part of the Papa name. And, of course, I wasn't around then. Well, I was around, but I didn't know anything about amateur radio. I guess I kind of did. I mean, my parents had two-way Motorola's back in God, it had to be like 50s, 60s, because my dad was a photographer in Montebello and that whole story. And then he took all of his two-way equipment up in the Idlewild, and they used it up there at different times, but for real estate and things. No repeaters, but just a tower in the back of the real estate office. But yeah, so I've been around radio a long, long time, definitely. As a kid, and thought it was pretty cool. But yeah, the Auto Patch, that's pretty slick. And I guess it was kind of a two-way communication, right? You couldn't just, it wasn't duplexes. In other words, it was just one way each, and then you had to kind of know how. Of course, you had to train the person on the other end that was just on a telephone how to do that. Don't talk until IN key. Good one. That's a great one. Really good one. Love it. Let's say hello to Mike Romeo Golf. I don't have the rest of the call, but I'll take that. And Papa 10.
KN6 Armor G, Chris on Papa 10. Yeah, I just wanted to bring up one of my first signal things with climbing and hiking were cairns. Getting to mountain peaks.
I think you were done, but I wasn't trying to trying to figure out what you were saying. So you, for hiking and stuff, you had a way of doing signaling, like with a mirror or something? Or I guess we haven't talked about that yet either. Signaling with a mirror. Go ahead again.
No, the signaling for me was all the, like, trail markers, which nobody's brought up yet, which, right, stacking rocks, and you sit there and have a good time. Sorry, I'm on a, like, low watt, HT, and that guides people. So you learn the terrain, and you have these markers that, like, it's just good fun. I'll be clear.
Oh, that's good, Chris. Yeah, we actually had one time, we did the net on cairns. I had the hardest time saying those things. But just trail markers, and of course, in my years of hiking that I did, there'd be like sometimes people would take a stick or 3 sticks and make an arrow because there'd be a Y in the road, and or in the road, on the trail, and you might have a group that's going and may not know which way to go. So those kind of things. But yeah, those definitely trail markers. What's the other ones called on the trees? There's a name for those too, so anybody can shout that one out. It's but they have that a lot to keep on the trail. Can't think of the name of those darn things. But you're good point. No, absolutely. You brought it up. I love that. That's awesome. That's what's fun about the net. It jogs some memories, and sometimes things we forget. That's pretty popular, especially years ago. Let's say hello to Dale, N6AQQ. Thanks, Chris.
Just checking in. Don't really have anything for the net. I'm not doing well. Anyway, N6AQQ back to net.
Well, thank you, Dale, as always. Thank you for being there. And I don't know, we'll maybe see you at the picnic, I hope. That's kind of a tradition. So hopefully we'll be able to see you there. All right, and let's say hello to Delta Mike Oscar. Give us the rest of your call and anything you have for the net, and welcome.
Good evening, all. This is Kilo 6, Delta Mike Oscar, Derek, Delta Echo Radio Echo Kilo, and Palos Verdes on Papa 5. I'll try to keep it short because my story is similar to others. Started in CB radio in junior high. Had a Cobra 142 GTL base station and a big stick antenna that my father put up here in Palos Verdes facing over what was then Rainland, and used to talk with older folks that were driving around and used to do party line, and so really enjoyed that. When I got older, I had a 23-channel CB radio that had a switch that you could flip the PA speaker and use it as a mic, and that was to listen to people when I was in the high school parking lot and just listening in my car. So I'll give it back to you. This is K6DML.
Thank you, Derek. Yeah, that was great. It brings back some good memories of, we had fun times with TVs. It wasn't too crazy back then, and, just to be able to and of course, that was way before cell phones or anything like that, so any communication was pretty neat when you could get away from just the telephone or whatever and use the radio. All right, well, have a great evening, and let's say hello to Jeff, KC6 at WTN. Welcome, Jeff.
Hiya, Bob. Thanks for doing the net. A couple of stories. Growing up in the 80s, my family would frequently go up to the Sierras. I was in Northern California, so we would go to the Sierras, and we would have to use walkie-talkies, 49 megahertz things between the camper and the cab just to keep in contact. So that was always good. In the 90s, I worked for Radio Shack, and I got one of their, I guess you would call it a Mr. Microphone. you know, it was one of those things where you could talk and 20, 30 feet, you would reach a radio. I was able to break it down and figured that most of the components would handle about 30 volts, not the 3 volts that was in the microphone. So I would stick a 9-volt battery on it, hooked up an external antenna for it, and I was able to reach about a half mile or a quarter mile with this little Mr. Microphone, and that was cool. But it was highly unstable. The frequency was unstable. KC6 WTN, that's the net control.
Boy, there's something I haven't heard in a long time. Mr. Microphone. I remember those. Well, I frequented Radio Shack quite a bit because back in the day, it was the only place that really had much technology, you know, cutting edge stuff like that. So yeah, it was just an FM transmitter built into the microphone and dial the FM on the radio. I think that's the same thing. And you could, you know, sing and whatever. Early forms of karaoke, I guess, is what it would be. All right, Jeff. Well, thanks as always. Appreciate you. And let's say hello to, I don't think I got a name. It might be Al. I don't know, but it's AI6J from Camarillo. Welcome. Alpha India 6, Juliet. All right. Well, he's probably next door to me, but maybe to one of the other cul-de-sacs or something away. But anyway, well, I think I've heard him on the air a couple of times. Let's go to Dayton. I got Hotel Bravo and a Dayton. That's about the most I got out of that. But if you're there, we'd love to hear from you. And welcome to the Great Outdoor Net.
Yeah, good evening. This is Corey in Dayton, Ohio. KD9MHP, the Motorola Homeboy. Sorry I'm late to the party. Are you guys talking about old-time tech? Is that the topic?
Yeah, Corey, just like old communications, I started out with Native American smoke signals, and then anything up to, but people have touched on different forms of crude communication that we had over the years, and that we have improved upon quite a bit now. So yeah, anything in that range.
QSL, KD9MHP on the return. So I'll touch on the latter of the new technology. So what the kids are playing with today, we are taking Raspberry Pi hotspots, the dual hotspots with the 2 antennas on them with the duplex, and we are trunking them using commercial radios to create a trunking system from your hotspot, which is pretty cool. You can check it out. It's called NextCom. It's a nationwide experimental communication group, and that's nexcomsys.net. And it's pretty fun. We've even got to the point where they have developed a remote control virtual dispatch, so you can pipe in multiple radios and have full transmit and receive from your Raspberry Pi or your computer, rather, up to 6 different radios, just like a dispatch console. That's pretty neat. That's kind of the cutting edge of technology right now, what these kids are doing. So, send it back to Net Control. Thanks for having me. This is KD9MHP from Dayton, Ohio.
Well, great to have you here, Corey. And yeah, that's like one of the stations came in and said, what are we going to be doing, years from now if we are where we are and where we've come from. So it is kind of, not scary, but it's just like, we're going to have built-in, telephones in our head, implanted. I won't go really good. This is Bob, W6CJX for the Papa System Great Outdoor Net. And I'm going to go ahead and close it, I think. Let's call it the beginning of the week. Well, Sundays are beginning, mine anyway. And hope everyone has a great week ahead. And I just wanted to let everyone know that we do have the picnic next weekend. So looking forward to seeing everybody a week from today down in Irvine at the regional park. It's such a great park. It's like a miniature Disneyland with a zoo, a train. You can go on boats. I think you can go ride horses. Or you can just sit around and get some tickets and maybe win a fantastic raffle prize and eat some food. So you've got a choice of things to do. But we'll look forward to seeing all that's going to be there. It should be a lot of fun. We'll bring some tunes, play some good music, and just have a good, fun time all together. So it's been a lot of fun. I think probably my, 10th picnic maybe. I mean, I've pretty much gone every year since I became a Papa member, so however long that's been. All right, well, with that, I want to thank everyone that checked in. Of course, we wouldn't have much of a net without this full page here again. It's a good thing to have a full page. It means that somebody's out there. And great topic, I think. Great participation on the topic anyway. I'm not patting myself on the back with the topic. I just came up with it, I guess. But it's definitely was fun, and people get to, it wasn't completely outdoors, but it was close. It applied to everybody outdoors at some point in time. So with that, I want to thank everyone that checked in, all the Papa members with all their memberships, Cecil and his legendary leadership. Of course, the A team goes to the top of the hills, and the B team that stays behind the scenes, stands for B, get it, behind B, and then the controllers, for the NCs. So there you go. All right, have a great week ahead. We'll look forward to seeing whoever is going to the picnic. Hopefully everybody is. And I think we'll have a good time. We'll be had by all. So I'll say 7-3, signing off at 21:44. And we'll see if we can condense this back down to an hour and a half. That'll be my job tomorrow. So anyway, have a good evening, and be safe out there, and be good to everyone, each other. W6CJX.